Before jumping into the tier list, I want to make a quick update because I realized I didn't give that much info on everything I was doing differently than potentially other people playing Infernum no hit. Along with that, I'd like to give just a general overview with some boss problems, but that'll come later. The first big thing I want to touch on is I'm not following any standardized rules. I've seen online while looking for tools to help me, people say stuff like no rod of discord, no DPS over a certain amount, no adrenaline, and I'm not fond of those. I use adrenaline mode a lot. I now have footage, so you'll get to see me fighting the bosses. I use Rod of Discord. I use buffs and as much DPS as I can. I don't care. I have some quality of life mods, but they're not potent to boss fights, more exploration and building of the arenas. But I am playing in journey mode. I'm not using journey mode powers in any way. I'm only using researching, so that way I can quickly swap classes and not have to worry about the more mediocre gameplay that I didn't do this challenge for. I did this challenge for boss fights. I want to do the boss fights, so I'm going to speed up to get to the boss fights and enjoy that as much as I can. With that disclaimer aside, I want to give another wider discussion about a universal problem that affects every boss in Infernum so far. Well, every boss is exaggeration, but you get the point. Is bosses changing phase? A lot of bosses have different phases. You can think of Skeletron with all four hands, whereas Skeletron has only the head. The issue is with many of these fights is when they phase change, there's not really a safety net for players. If you make them change a phase at a bad time in an attack pattern, they're standing next to you, they could dash right into you. Their attacks get wonky and guarantee you lose. And just as an example, Cryogen was awful with this. He would float above me shooting his projectiles, and while revving to shoot the omnidirectional blast, he would phase change and dash right at me, instantly killing me. Nothing I could really do or react to, because that's not normal. It's weird. I have to suddenly play very different and calculate of, okay, I gotta stop doing damage now. Hope I didn't do the DOT. I gotta wait for him to stand still over there. I really think bosses changing phases should not be an insta-lose just because you were doing good with damage. Another complaint I'll have is certain bosses having too few attacks. Just to give an example of this, in the Calamitous clone fight, the brothers phase is set. There's 3 attacks, no more, no less, no variation of those 3 attacks. Now, for the brothers phase, I do think it's more okay, because it's like a mini phase within a wider fight that's completely fine in terms of attacks. Well, at least in terms of this complaint. But certain fights definitely started feeling this way. Like Queen Slime kind of just had 3 attacks that all lasted a while with a phase splitter in the middle. It got to a point where I thought, wow, there's not a lot of variation. The same button presses are dodging these the same way. I really feel like every fight, or not even every fight, every attack a boss has should have 1 or 2 variations, and if not, maybe some element that would make it more unique. Some element of RNG with bullet patterns, maybe homing, or like even how it's targeted at the player. Maybe make it targeted not at the player, making it more dynamic to dodge. And the final complaint is too many unique attacks. This is not in terms of raw attack patterns, but attack diversity within one set attack. To give an example, the Calamitous clone has an attack where they teleport around you shooting like a shotgun spread. This has 3 variations. A normal shotgun spread, a shotgun spread where the bullets take a while to speed up, and one that homes. This is really good. I think this is a great example of an attack that you can dodge universally about the same, but has a bunch of unique diversity in how you can dodge it, depending on where you're standing, which ones they're doing, and there's some subtle differences that gives a unique way to express your skill. Now, also with Calamitous Clone, the Sun attack, where she holds up the big fireball above her head and shoots out orbs. That has almost 6 variations, all of which can be dodged slightly differently, and if you dodge one different than the other, you die immediately. This feels really unfair, especially when that attack can happen towards the end of the fight. It always happens after the brothers phase, and when that happens, it can kind of feel like bullshit if you get an unlucky combo. There is some harder combos of variations there than others. I really feel like for an attack that comes so late, it shouldn't have so many unique variations, it should only have a set couple. With that, I think we'll jump right into the first boss. So Dread Nautilus is the first fight I took on. It really was. The best way I can put this fight was, it felt like a mini boss extended. Didn't really feel like a full fleshed out boss. Now you might be thinking, well, wait, isn't Dreadnought a mini boss? Well, no. Infernum makes it a full boss, but I always feel like it did that by just upping its health bar, which is kind of boring. Its attacks were very easy to dodge. I didn't take that much energy to figure them out. I think towards the end, one of its last attacks was kind of difficult to dodge, but it was more about it was hard to figure out what to do than it was to dodge. And I mentioned that they kind of got there by just buffing the HP. While for a mini boss, it definitely had a lot of HP. For a boss, it kind of felt lacking. I also didn't feel a reason to fight the boss. There's a lack of motivation with there's just no purpose. It didn't drop anything. It was very easy to skip the boss and progression wise. There was just no reason to. Um, I can comment that I had to kind of plan around hitting the boss. I found that some original combos of weapons were too inaccurate and kept missing. But after a while, like, I got into the rhythm, got into the flow state. As for actually ranking the boss, I gotta push back my old memory for these pre-hard mode bosses. It's definitely a do I have to. It was not that enjoyable. I think it'd be like right about here, because it just was not that great. As for difficulty, I think it was harder than these guys, but it's definitely, it's like, you wouldn't fight it for more materials. It was just kind of bland. My rhythm got fucked up, yeah. Nice. That wasn't that bad. That was actually, I'd say, pretty easy. The next boss I fought was Queen Slime. Queen Slime was kind of unique. I don't really fight them in base game all that much. I tend to skip Queen Slime, tend to leave it, push it off for future endeavors, but deciding to sit down and fight it, it was a lot cooler than I remember. Getting into the rhythm felt very cool with the jump dodging and certain attacks like cutting it close with the slams. Um, it's kind of hard to comment on it because you kind of had to play it. The knife dance attack I thought was really interesting. The way you can, there's multiple ways to dodge. Like, as I kept playing the fight, I kept figuring out different and unique ways to dodge every attack, going from running away to standing still, getting more confident, jumping up and falling down. These subtle differences really gave a lot to the fight. It made it very enjoyable, and there's one comment for difficulty. That's end phase, or I can't say end phase, but it has a mid health phase change. That was kind of bullcrap to figure out. It kept just teleporting on top of me. I kept trying to run away, but then I'd get cut off with my arena ending, like going downwards. I tried to like jump up and fly away, and it didn't seem to interact. Honestly, my winning attempt, I kind of just got lucky. I think. I don't know. It felt like it was trying to track my momentum, but certain times it just didn't track my momentum and went right to me. I don't know if that was me doing something wrong, but if that wasn't there, this fight would honestly be easier than Deer Clops. It would be like really down here, but because that phase change felt so 50-50, so hard, I'm ranking these on the wrong scale. Hold up. No, I'm not. Refight for fun. Never touch Calamity again. Oh my! It reset itself. Look at that. Aw. Well, I guess I'm just gonna be verbally explaining how fun it was to fight because the tier list changed. Okay, well, I'm gonna quickly do an overhaul of this. Hold up, team. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I just quickly reshuffled the tier list around for difficulty, so ignore the names for right now. This is now difficulty list. I'm kind of disappointing. I can't believe the tier list reset like that. It's a shame. You can double check. You can see I've moved it to here, which is on the easier spectrum. So, gosh, I gotta remember my thought process now. Queen Slime, assuming that middle phase change was different, would be down here. Honestly, it was harder than this guy, but like it would be right here. It's still pretty low, maybe up here. But the middle phase change is just kind of bullcrap. It killed me a bunch. So we're gonna put it right here for now. Losing my mind. Been on this fight for 2 hours. Oh, oh, nice. I forgot to record for Cryogen and the next couple bosses. Oops, my bad, team. I don't know, when the boss fights start showing up again, they'll visually appear. I don't remember off the top of my head. Editor me will make sure to put them in. Cryogen was up next, and I don't know. I really felt like they put Cryogen at the wrong phase. Pre-mech, it had so much health, and more health than the mech boss I beat up next, and just did not die. It was very annoying. And also, it got really boring because it like you learned the dodge patterns, but it just had so much health. You just have to wait, wait, wait. I can't have words to really explain what needs to change. I feel like this was a byproduct of its earlier because I remember in the past it used to have like 5 phases. And so I think they're trying to keep those 5 phases in with a health bar for each, but honestly, they want that. Just push it like second mech. We already have 2 bosses pre mech. We don't need a third. And only one boss between the mech fights can get, I can't say boring, but like you could do with a little more padding. The phase change was horrendous in this fight. I know I said it was a universal problem. All these fights kind of have that. This one and one other I'll specifically call out for just being so awful. It would just kill you. You had to make sure you watch your damage. A lot of the patterns were easy to pick up on. The only really hard part was the in between attacks and phase changing overlap. Once you got that overlap down, once you got the overlap of phase changing attacks down, I should say, once you got through all that, there wasn't really a hard part. And the last desperation attack was honestly easier than anything else in the fight. You just held up and down. I think about here. I don't want to say Queen Slime was harder because Queen Slime took less attempts, but dynamically speaking, Queen Slime had more stuff to do. This fight, not really. I didn't think it was that bad. So the first mech boss I fought was the twins. I think I made a mistake fighting the twins first, but not because they're the hardest, because the easiest was so easy. I'll say, in terms of difficulty spike, there was a huge one. All 3 mech bosses are very hard. In fact, if I could, I'd like push all these guys down and add 3 more tiers up here for future events, because I can already feel it. It's gonna get hard. I had a very hard time to dodge like every attack. Unlike a lot of fights that have filler attacks, I'll say, attacks that just dodge passively from running around, Twins didn't feel that way. Every fight took some mental strain to think of how do I dodge this? Where do I go? How will this lead into the next fight? Or next attack? How will I make sure to phase change them? Which one should I kill first? I had a lot of things to think about. And that was also the cool part. I know I just complained about phase changing bosses being annoying, but this fight does it correctly to me. In between phases, they're not deadly. They stand still, they allow you time to breathe, But this leaves skill in which twin you attack first. Who do you want to turn into a mech first? Who do you want to break first to go into desperation phase? Who's your target? Like, all that was really cool. The super attacks towards the end, where they spin, and the individual phase was kind of mud. It was like a bit over the top. Having such extreme attacks just randomly out of the blue with no build up. I can't say I actually faulted that much, because, like, what else are you supposed to do, right? But it definitely felt a bit jarring. As for which twin I broke, I tried killing the Retinazer super form a couple times and just kept dying. I just could not do it. It was so hard. So then I went to Spasmatism and nearly first tried it, honestly. Spasmatism was so much easier in the desperation phase. And saying easy doesn't mean it was easy. Overall, for difficulty, this was probably one of the hardest fights. Now, what's keeping it from this top tier was it didn't feel unfair. It felt very fair. It was very skillful. If I made a mistake, I died. If I didn't, I lived. There wasn't a bunch of RNG to it, not like these two. The Aquatic Scourge honestly hardly counts as an attack. He's kind of a bum of a fight, to be honest. I found it very easy to dodge. I didn't even build an arena and was still able to dodge. My first couple attempts, I got all the way him all the way down to like desperation phase, half health. Like, you'd really think he's a mini boss with his health bar. They really got to up his health bar for a worm, like a certain other worm. While I killed him consistently in adrenaline, when I got adrenaline, I that was the attempt I won. While I did like that, killed him fast. Don't get me wrong. The part I played was very enjoyable. The attacks were cool patterns, manageable dodging. Didn't feel like there was any real RNG to it or any out of player control, I'll say. It felt very isolated in experience, like a good point in progression, if not for maybe health. Which, I guess for a worm fight, I don't know how I would address. Honestly, it was so easy and I killed it so fast, it's gotta go, like, down here. It was just so free. It was so freezy peasy. I can't possibly put it any. Honestly, for stage of progression it came in, like, after that, I fought Prime. Just to give you my warning now, I think Prime was the easiest of the mech bosses. And I think that was because they didn't really know what they were doing with them. Like, the progression within the fight felt weird. During his first phase, his head is invulnerable and all four arms are trying to attack you. But the arms all sharing a health bar and doing the same exact attack pattern meant once I learned them, there was no deviation, I beat them every time. It was very easy to adapt to the dodge. It wasn't like, how do I dodge this? It's so dynamic. No, very basic attacks. And once I beat that, the head went down right afterwards. It was like the head had hardly any attacks. They were all basic to dodge in practice. For being a mech boss here, I thought it was way too easy, honestly. Now, for me, hyping it up as way too easy, I'm still probably gonna put it. I'll also put it like about there. Which I know calling this fight way too easy and putting it partial way up the tier list feels weird. I think that is a testament to how strong most of the bosses were in this phase, at least mech bosses were. Brimstone Elemental. This is another odd case where I think the boss was just put at a horrible spot in progression. But I can't say. Honestly, this boss and Cryogen need to swap places. To start with the positive, at least. The attacks were so cool. The patterns were so unique. It visually was so stunning. And the like learning how to dodge was such a eureka moment. It felt amazing. They encircle you with a big like brimstone circle and little flower buds spawn in on it. And I didn't really process anything and kept getting hit thinking it was unfair. And I was actually gonna comment that it was kind of bull crap. Should really be made less variance in this regard because it should be dodgeable. But when I figured out the flowers where the bullets went to, oh my god, it felt so cool. And then after that, I won immediately. Yeah, I can't really get around it. The attacks in this fight are cool, but it has no health. Like, no health. Three attacks and this thing was almost dead. The desperation attack, and I think my winning attempt that didn't get a desperation attack off, I killed it too fast. That doesn't say how little health it had. I don't know what else would. This is another one that's going down here. I don't think it, honestly, I don't know. These two are pretty interchangeable. They were both so easy. Not a good performance from the in between mech boss fights. Fuck the Destroyer. The Destroyer is the worst boss so far. Finally taking the cake up here. So, it's really hard for me to express how much I hate this fight, but let me try to. I really felt like I wasn't in control of half my deaths. When I would die, it didn't feel like it was my fault in any way. The Destroyer has an attack where he dashes at you, and when he dashes at me, I dash away. Easy dodge. Except sometimes he would delay the dash by random increments. Sometimes he would track me through my dash, getting me killed anyways. Sometimes even Rod of Discord wouldn't get me away. He would dash at me, I'd Rod of Discord, a full 180 straight up, kill me instantly. What? Why can Destroyer do that? The probes were so bullshit. Sometimes they died before they reached me for seemingly no reason. Sometimes they didn't. Sometimes they were hyper accurate demons who would track me down and not stop dashing. Other times they would give up dashing before they even reached me. The desperation phase towards the end has a bunch of projectile vomit that is honestly pretty annoying to dodge, especially when it's combined with him still dashing at you. The fight felt like an RNG madness. It felt like I just had to get lucky and roll the dice with him not being auto homing, him not projectile locking, his drones not just randomly ending the run. I ended up just true melee blasting him down and winning. I wish I could say there's a cool pattern, cool trick. There isn't. This fight fucking sucks. Yeah, sorry for getting a little heated at that last fight. I can't put into words how bad Destroyer was. So let's just move on, shall we? The Cal Clone. Cal Clone was very hard. Not Destroyer hard, because they were fair. It felt, every fight, it honestly felt like Brimstone. It felt like Brimstone Elemental if they had a bigger health bar and more attacks. The patterns were very unique, it was very fun. I think watching back the footage, I actually have footage for this, I remember that off the top of my head. Let's go. But looking at the footage, this was like one of the funnest fights to visually look at, in my opinion at least. That's not to say it's all positives, though. While the fight was decently hard with these cool patterns, I noticed this bad problem with variance. Each attack could vary like in 6 different ways on like any other fight, and if you didn't know how to dodge those 6 different ways of every attack and all their unique patterns and where that will leave you in the arena and how to dodge, you kind of just lose. Especially considering there's some bad progression problems, like, oh, I'm so sorry. The brothers phase is just awful. I really don't like the brothers phase. You beat it every time once you learn it. Felt like they should really have redesigned it in some way. There's also the awkwardness of the beginning can set up your whole run. If during the first fight they use homing projectiles, you get pushed to the top of your arena or bottom of your arena, and you tend to just get desynced. Every other attack doesn't want you there. But if you get the other variant of this attack, you stand completely still and dodge it fully. What? Why? And then this is to say, remember when I said there's no RNG in this fight? Back again to tell you I lied. The weird end phase. The end phase of this fight just seems so confused, man. The dash hitbox was huge, the projectiles are awkward. You dodge the dash, you dodge the projectiles, but if you don't dodge the dash, you wouldn't dodge the projectiles, meaning the projectiles never really kill you or do anything. It's very awkward to dodge the preamble to the dash where they do the spinning projectiles, because those just, if you're set up awkwardly and they're on the wrong side of you at the edge of an arena, too far down, oh well, I guess you lose. And then right after those dashes that are incredibly hard, incredibly precise, and require this huge arena, they do one of the easiest attacks to dodge where you hold up or down. Felt very confused what it wanted to be. As for difficulty, it was probably the hardest fair fight. I'd put it above these guys, and honestly, if I was ranking them, I'd want to put it up here. But because there was no RNG elements, and because once I got good, I was consistently dodging everything, I can't reasonably say it was harder than Brain, harder than Slime God, harder than Destroy. Those fights you can just lose. That's not true for... Honestly, I think that'll knock it down here. Though, there's an argument for up here, just because it was difficult. Uh, did I do it? I did it! I did it! I did it! Oh my god! The recording's only 5 minutes long! Oh, well, not 5 minutes of attempts. I've been practicing since 3 and it's almost 10. Kill me. In the final fight to round it off, I know I said Golem, but after looking at the boss list, I realized Plantera was the actual halfway mark to Moonlord. Plantera, though, on their own, I'd say they're cool patterns. I don't know how much I can say that, but it's unique. The first phase is whatever, but the second phase is leaving like landmines around the arena. It's a lot more of dodging these landmines as you're getting dashed at. Not really reacting to anything. They've always been there. It's a skill in your movement. Feels very cool. Their projectile attack. It also feels so unique with maneuvering around these landmines as the slow attack comes out. If it weren't for any individual part, this fight would honestly be even easier than it already is, which touches the biggest problem. This fight's really easy. Because it's not reaction based and it's more of your movement, if you have good movement with double jumps, wings, Rod of Discord, if you know what you're doing or have an arena, it's just free. It's a pretty free fight. Coming off Calclone, I was prepared to lock in, but I actually almost beat this fight without recording and needed to go back and lose so that way I could get a recording of me winning. Now, this is the most awkward one for me to rate because I think it was more fun, honestly, than almost any of these fights. If this was fun, right up here, it was so enjoyable. Hard? Just looking at these bosses, like, look at Queen Slime took me 150 odd attempts. Prime, definitely not. I think it was harder than Wall. Was it harder than Wall even? Like, it's down here. Plantera was such a disappointment, honestly, in terms of difficulty. Honestly, looking at this tier list now, it's kind of funny seeing all these pretty hard mode fights down in these hard mode bosses, but that's what you get ranking off progression, in my opinion. So far, it's been very enjoyable. I kind of maybe touched on it. I don't know if editing me left the previous clip in, but I'm gonna go up to Moonlord next, and then after that, I don't know how I'm gonna split up post Moonlord. I'll decide something. I'll look into it. It's been an enjoyable experience. The biggest holdback for me saying that anyone should do this now that I'm getting farther in has definitely been some bullshit mechanics with RNG. Stuff like the phase changing, just killing you, is just so rage inducing. Like, that's no fault of me. I guess I just lose. And I really feel like they could have done that better. I feel like something could have been changed to make that solvable. And attacks having all these variants of themselves where there's 7 different ways to dodge the same attack, and that same attack has 8 different variants where those 7 different ways need to be used differently in mechanic. I feel like they should normalize it a bit more or make it so there's some consistent dodge pattern that works for all of them for the start, and then you need to deviate afterwards to give you the reaction time needed. Am I going to call any fight outwardly bad? Yes. These 3 up here. If you're not those 3 fights, though, no. These fights have actually been very enjoyable. If you think these fights should be harder, then, oh, buff their health. Well, I'm glad you listened to my little ramble session. Oh, Plantera down. Honestly, looking at this tier list now, it's kind of funny seeing all these pretty hard mode fights down in these hard mode bosses, but that's what you get ranking off progression, in my opinion. So far, it's been very enjoyable. I kind of maybe touched on it. I don't know if editing me left the previous clip in, but I'm gonna go up to Moonlord next, and then after that, I don't know how I'm gonna split up post Moonlord. I'll decide something. I'll look into it. It's been an enjoyable experience. The biggest holdback for me saying that anyone should do this now that I'm getting farther in has definitely been some bullshit mechanics with RNG. Stuff like the phase changing, just killing you, is just so rage inducing. Like, that's no fault of me. I guess I just lose. And I really feel like they could have done that better. I feel like something could have been changed to make that solvable. And attacks having all these variants of themselves where there's 7 different ways to dodge the same attack, and that same attack has 8 different variants where those 7 different ways need to be used differently in mechanic. I feel like they should normalize it a bit more or make it so there's some consistent dodge pattern that works for all of them for the start, and then you need to deviate afterwards to give you the reaction time needed. Am I going to call any fight outwardly bad? Yes. These three up here. If you're not those three fights, though, no. These fights have actually been very enjoyable. If you think these fights should be harder, then buff their health. Well, I'm glad you listened to my little ramble session. Bye bye.